Josh Begley from The Intercept had created an app that would allow Americans to keep track of the number of U.S. drone strikes that are done abroad and how many people have died as a result of those drone strikes. Well, it turns out that Apple has denied that app multiple times. First, it happened when they denied the app because it was named Drone Plus. Apparently, they didn't like the name. It basically let them know what the app was about, and they thought that the information being provided was objectionable. Now, before we go any further with some of their reasoning behind why they decided to reject these apps, let's take a quick look at the first graphic that shows you what the app looks like. As you can see, all it does is give you text information and also maps indicating where these drone strikes happened and how many people were either killed or injured as a result of the strikes. So you don't see any dead bodies, you don't see any explicit material or graphic material. You only get information. And if you're a journalist, this is particularly important information, especially if you're covering foreign policy abroad. Now, according to reports, the concept, despite being a highly useful news resource, was rejected repeatedly under the name Drones Plus for being, quote, not useful or entertaining enough.
Yeah, I got it. It's not entertaining. They're right. It's not entertaining enough.
Okay, but it's definitely useful, again, especially for those who want to be informed or people who are reporting on these strikes.
Tariq, 16, and Wahid, 12, were driving to pick up their aunt. A drone ended their journey. That's right. That's not entertaining.
Not entertaining.
Yeah.
Okay. So the report continues. The app was resubmitted by Begley under a different name, Metadata Plus, and was approved immediately last year and had been functioning before it was pulled last weekend due to, quote, excessively crude or objectionable content. This is kind of incredible. No, it's not kind of incredible. It is incredible. I can't believe that Apple would pull these apps when it's not doing anything wrong. The only thing it's doing is providing people with information. Are we supposed to keep our head in the sand and not know about these things?
Yes, by the way, yes. I mean, I have no idea. I have no insight as to whether Apple was pressured by the Department of Defense or the White House or, the New World Order, or whatever nefarious organization you want to ascribe this behavior to. But it is not information that we had been getting. It is not information that I'd been getting. I don't know. I don't know who's killed in drone strikes. I just, every so often you read a story about how we do a lot of drone strikes and sometimes we kill unintended targets. Mm-hmm. Not infrequently, certainly not infrequently enough. Plus, there's the overall danger of drone strikes that we don't have to take the same measure of care that you have to take in the way you used to when you would have to send troops in to do something. Mm-hmm. Or at least a fighter pilot invade somebody's airspace in a different way, or run the risk with a bomb fired from an airplane or dropped from an airplane that isn't going to be as precise as you want it to be. So this way, be like, oh no, we can do this. It's fine. It's no big deal. Nobody even has to come into the office. Yeah. We'll just call it in, like getting a pizza online. And so that's a new way of doing warfare that can have the same catastrophic effects that old warfare had. Mm-hmm. Still a bomb in the end, that's just as explosive. But we sort of can feel better about it. That is something that as a country and a society we really need to talk about and recognize that super easy warfare is not necessarily a great thing. And to be able to see the victims of this and to see what it does is a worthy journalistic endeavor. If you want to turn around and be like Michael Hayden and say, this is a scary new world and these are necessary and the collateral damage, while terrible, and it is something that you have to take our word for it. We will always try to avoid, and I'm sure some people will try to avoid it more than others, some administrations. We will do everything we can to avoid it, but it's necessary, then go ahead, make that argument. That's an argument to be made, and you may have a people that understands and goes with that.
Right.
But they got to know what's happening.
Yeah, they absolutely have to know what's happening. And in this case, Apple is basically the gatekeeper of vital information to Americans who might want to participate in this democratic process. And you can't have a politically active group of people unless they know what's happening in the world, what our government's doing abroad, what the government's doing domestically. And I hate knowing that they gave the worst possible reasons for denying these apps. Now, there was a little silver lining to this story, and that silver lining was that Begley had created a different app that, it was essentially the same app under a different name, and Apple hadn't pulled that yet. It was ephemeral, and it was fine. It hadn't been pulled, but all these media reports indicated that there was another version under a different name, and then Apple pulled that one as well.
So they've pulled, so Begley has had
Drones
plus metadata and ephemeral all pulled.
All of them have been pulled. Now, here's the good news. Thankfully, he's been posting information about drone strikes on his own Twitter account. So all you need to do is look up his name and then you can see it there. He's a reporter for The Intercept, which is a great publication if you have any interest on privacy issues and what's happening in terms of foreign policy. I just hate knowing that there are corporations that are the gatekeepers of this very important information, and they're keeping it away from us. And, you know, for anyone who says, you know, it's important for the free market to decide and let people decide whether or not they're going to frequent certain businesses and things like that. Now, I know this is a slightly different issue. That's a very idealistic way of handling things because you're making the assumption that all Americans have perfect information. They don't have perfect information because there are always going to be gatekeepers to information. And in this case, Apple is doing just that. They're keeping important information away from us.
There's a game.
Yes.
There's a drone game where you get to kill people.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine. But apparently giving Americans information about what our government is doing in other countries.
As long as you're engaged in
acceptable.
commerce, it's going to be fine. But God forbid you're informing the American people of something that reflects poorly on America, then you're going to get shut down. I mean, I got it. Hopefully that'll be back, and Josh Begley clearly doing really relevant work.